All right, we are live. Welcome to Adult Brain Audiobooks. I'm Graham, one of the narrators. This is another experimental live read. Today we are in the middle of part 2 of book 1 of the MAGUS, or in Celestial Intelligencer, being a complete system of occult philosophy, written in 1801 by Francis Barrett. So we're going back like 250 years here. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting stuff. We were going through all the numbers recently, numbers of 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 10 and 11 with the scales. And I stopped reading at the end of this chapter. What was it? Well, we're going to be in chapter 20, 27. Let me just check here. So chapter 20, or 17, chapter 17. So I'm going to share my screen. This is like to bring some humanity to the channel. We are not just AI here. We are real people. This is kind of how we make the sausage. I mean, it's not exactly how, because I'm sharing screen with my half screens. I would have like 2 full screens going at once if I can, but I'm going to share my screen here, the entire screen, and this is how I record the books. So we're going to go through a few chapters here in this Magus book. I'm just picking my way through it. It's a pretty interesting book. So yesterday we stopped at this big table here in chapter. Oh, it is 26. 26. So what? That should say 27 down there. That must be wrong. It says 17. It's funny. I got one of them wrong the other day too. I said 12 instead of 22. So we must be on chapter 27 then, technically. Oh, my cat wants to set up before we get started here, hopefully. We were doing this, and then I stopped before reading. Like, I recorded it, but I stopped the YouTube before reading these footnotes. So I just want to go back and read these footnotes. And I don't have to record it now because I've already got it. And then I'm not going to record the next chapter because it's full of I'll show you quickly. It's full of these Hebrew characters and numbers and stuff. So I'm going to have to take my time and go through and like pronounce all the letters properly. So I don't want to just waste that in this. So I'm going to rip through this on the YouTube and not record it. And then I'm going to start recording in the magic tables of the planets. Just so people that are watching this episode later on will know what's going on. So let's start with the end of this chapter and the footnotes after we went through all the numbers and all the scales, because it's kind of interesting. This kind of brings context to the whole thing because it seems a bit obscure when you're going through it. So the use of these scales in the composition of talismans, seals, rings, etc., must be obvious to every student upon inspection, and are indispensably necessary to the producing of any effect whatever that the artist may propose to himself. For, as we have before observed, all things were formed according to the proportion of numbers, this seeming to be the principal pattern in the mind of the Creator. Therefore, when at any time we set about any work or experiment in celestial magic, we are to have a special regard to the rule of numbers and proportions. For example, if we were to obtain the celestial influence of any star, we are, first of all, to observe at what time that star is powerful in the heavens. I mean, in good aspect, with all the benefices, and ruling in the day and hour appropriated to the planet, and in fortunate places of the figure. Then we are to observe what divine names are ruling the intelligences or spirits to which the said planets are subject with their characters, which you may see at large in the magical tables of numbers. Then, by referring to the above tables of the scales, we may see by inspection to what numbers are attributed divine names, and under them the orders of the intelligences, the heavenly spheres, elements and their properties, animals, metals and stones, powers of the soul, senses of man virtues, I thought I was recording there. Senses of man virtues, the princes of the evil spirits, places of punishment, degrees of the damned souls, degrees of torments hereafter, and everything that is either in heaven or earth or hell, All our senses, motions, qualities, virtues, words, or works are submitted to the proportions of numbers, as you may see fully exemplified in the different scales of the numbers, and all things that are knowable and demonstrable by them, and are attributed to them. Therefore, great is the knowledge and wisdom to be derived from numbers. Therefore, the artist must be well acquainted with their virtues and properties by them. There is a way open for the knowing and understanding of all things. Therefore, let him diligently contemplate these scales, and likewise what we have set down in our 14th and 15th chapters preceding the scales, where we have, upon good authority, explained sufficiently the extent and force of formal numbers, which ought to be well understood and attentively considered as the ground and foundation of all our operations in this science, without which we are defrauded of the desired effect. Therefore, whenever we intend to set about any experiment, whether it be an image or ring or tablet or mirror or amulet or any other instrument, we are to note first the site, order, number, and government of the intelligence and his planet, his measure of time, revolution in the heavens, etc. Likewise, we are to engrave or write upon it its number, intelligence, or spirit, either for a good or bad effect, with the suitable characters and tables. Likewise, the effect desired with the divine names congruent thereto, so that our operations may be strong, powerful, and suitable to the constellation and star, both in time, number, and proportion, with a due and attentive observation of all that we have written concerning this, without which all our operations could never be brought to have the effect desired. And we are to mind that whenever such an instrument is perfected, that it is the more powerful when the planet or constellation under which it was constructed is ruling and potent in the heavens. For at that time, whatever we desire to bring to perfection by the said talisman, as a medium and instrument, shall by no means be prevented or hindered. Therefore, take this as a general rule, that all magical instruments whatsoever have no power in themselves, further than as they are formed under the influences and according to the times and numbers of their proper stars and constellations. Hence is derived the title we give this book, viz., the constellatory art or talismanic magic. Those who would further consider the power, virtue, extent, and harmony of numbers, let them read Pythagoras, Plato, Averroes, etc., who all agree in the virtues lying hid in numbers, and with the knowledge of which no man can be a true philosopher. Say hi to Mocha. The next is chapter 17 of the Notes of the Hebrews and Chaldeans and Other Notes of Magicians. The Hebrew characters have marks of numbers attributed to them far more excellent than any other language, since the greatest mysteries lie in the Hebrew letters, as is handled concerning those in part of the Kabbalah, which we call Notoriacon. Now, the principal Hebrew letters are in number 22, whereof 5 have various other certain figures in the end of a word, which therefore they call the 5 ending letters, which being added to them aforesaid make 27, which being then divided into 3 degrees signify units, which are in the first degree tens, which are in the second, and hundreds, which are in the third degree. Now, everyone, if they are marked with a great character, signifies so many thousands, as here. So here they've got those 3 letters there, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. The class of the Hebrew numbers are these which follow. So here's just the alphabet of them, going down from 9 all the way to 1, and then 90 all the way down to 10, and then 900 all the way down to 100. So that's the 27. Sometimes the final letters are not used, but we write thus, like 1,000 here, 9,000 that one, or sorry, 900, 800, 700. So those 2 letters correspond to multiple numbers. Interesting. And by those simple figures and by the joining of them together, they describe all other compound numbers as 11, 12, and 110, and 111, by adding to the number 10 those which are units, and in like manner to the rest after their manner. Yet we describe the 15th number not by 10 and 5, but by 9 and 6. And that out of honor to the divine name, which signifies 15, lest that sacred name should be abused to profane things. Likewise, the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Chaldeans, and Arabians have their marks of numbers which serve for the making of magical characters. But the Chaldeans mark their numbers with the letters of their alphabet, after the manner of the Hebrews. I found in a very ancient book of magic some very elegant characters which I have figured in the following manner. So they've got these figures here, all the way from 1 to 9. Now, of these characters turned towards the left are made 10s. So they turn these around and they're made 10s that way. And those marks being downwards and to the right hand make hundreds, and then to the left, thousands. And by the composition and mixture of these characters, either compound numbers or most other compound numbers are most elegantly made, as you may perceive by these few. So they've got an example here of 1510, which would be the 10 here, and then you add the 500 here with that little thing there, and then you add the 1,000 there, like that. So then you've got 1510. So like these characters actually describe like 1471 even. Imagine learning all that. There's the 70 across there is must be 1 that way. There. So yeah, that's it. 1801, the year this book was written. So let's move on now, and I'll start the proper recording here. Yeah, this will be interesting. There's some stuff to view here. There's some tables that we'll be describing. The magic tables, seals, and characters of the planets and their intelligence. What does that say? They're intelligent spirits. So I'm going to just be clicking on those, or I could also switch to my PDF that has them there, but that's where that. So we'll go through this chapter. I'll start recording it. So this will be a little bit, I'll have to be a little more accurate. So you'll catch me stopping and starting and repronouncing things. So I'll try to be as accurate as possible, or as fast as possible. Chapter 28. The magic tables of the planets, their form and virtue, what divine names, intelligences, and spirits are set over them. There are certain magic tables of numbers distributed to the 7 planets, which they call the sacred tables of the planets, because being rightly formed, they are endued with many great virtues of the heavens, insomuch that they represent the divine order of the celestial numbers impressed upon them by the ideas of the divine mind, by means of the soul of the world and the sweet harmony of those celestial rays, signifying according to proportion supercelestial intelligences, which see where the record level is at. That's okay up there. I'm going to drag this down. I'm going to redo that thing because they have that period in the middle there, which screwed me up. Let's see. Just got to switch that over. Signifying. All right. I got to find out where I was here just while I get rolling with this. Sometimes I can cheat it like I'm going to do now at a semicolon and start the recording again. Signifying according to proportion supercelestial intelligences, which can no other way be expressed than by the marks of numbers, letters, and characters. For material numbers and figures can do nothing in the mysteries of hidden things, but representatively by formal numbers and figures, as they are governed and informed by intelligences and divine enumerations, which unite the extremes of the matter and spirit to the will of the elevated soul, receiving through great affection by the celestial power of the operator a virtue and power from God, applied through the soul of the universe, and the observation of celestial constellations to a matter fit for a form, the mediums being disposed by the skill and industry of the magician. But now we will hasten to explain each particular table. The first table is assigned to the planet Saturn and consists of a square of 3 containing the particular numbers of 9, and in every line 3 every way, and through each diameter making 15, the whole sum of numbers 45. Over this are set such divine names as fill up the numbers with an intelligence to what is good, and a spirit to bad, and out of the same numbers are drawn the seal and character of Saturn, and of the spirits thereof, such as is beneath ascribed to the table. So I'm just going to take a break here at that table and show this. So this would be the Saturn table right here with the 9 squares, the seal of Saturn, of the intelligence, and then I guess what we will be doing is moving on to these other tables. So I'm not going to show this every time. The same table in Hebrew there, and then the table of Jupiter in Hebrew, of Mars in Hebrew. Double check that. Okay, here we go. Now, this table being with a fortunate Saturn engraven on a plate of lead helps childbirth, and to make any man safe or powerful, and to cause success of petitions with princes and powers. But if it be done, Saturn being unfortunate, it hinders buildings, planting, and the like, and casts a man from honors and dignities, causing discord, quarreling, and disperses an army. The second is the table of Jupiter, which consists of a square drawn into itself. It contains 16 particular numbers, and in every line and diameter 4, making 34. The sum of all is 136. There are over it divine names with an intelligence to that which is good, and a spirit to bad, and out of it is drawn the character of Jupiter and the spirits thereof. If this is engraven on a plate of silver, with Jupiter being powerful and ruling in the heavens, it conduces to gain riches and favor, love, peace, and concord, and to appease enemies, and to confirm honors, dignities, and counsels, and dissolves enchantments if engraven on a coral. The third table belongs to Mars, which is made of a square of 5, containing 25 numbers, and of these, in every side in diameter 5, which makes 65, and the sum of all is 325. And there are over it divine names with an intelligence to good, and a spirit to evil, and out of it is drawn the characters of Mars and of his spirits. These, with Mars fortunate, being engraven on an iron plate or sword, makes a man potent in war and judgment, and petitions, and terrible to his enemies, and victorious over them. And if engraven upon the stone Coriola, there's that semicolon again. I can just quickly cut that out. But if it be engraven, and if engraven upon the stone Coriola, it stops blood and the menstrues. But if it be engraven with Mars being unfortunate on a plate of red brass, it prevents and hinders buildings. It casts down the powerful from dignities, honors, and riches, causes discord and hatred amongst men and beasts, drives away bees, pigeons, and fish, and hinders mills from working, i.e., binds them. It likewise renders hunters and fighters unfortunate, causes barrenness in men and women, and strikes a terror into our enemies, and compels them to submit. The fourth table is of the sun, and is made of a square of 6, and contains 36 particular numbers, whereof 6 in every side and diameter produce 111, and the sum of all 6 is 166. There are over it divine names with an intelligence to what is good, and a spirit to what is evil, and out of it is drawn the character of the sun and of his spirits. This being engraven on a plate of pure gold, Sol, being fortunate, renders him that wears it renowned, amiable, acceptable, potent in all his works, and equals him to a king, elevating his fortunes and enabling him to do whatever he will. But with an unfortunate son, it makes one a tyrant, proud, ambitious, insatiable, and finally to come to an ill ending. The fifth table is of Venus, consisting of a square of 7 drawn into itself, these of 49 numbers, whereof 7 on each side in diameter make 175, and the sum of all is 1,225. There are likewise over it divine names, with an intelligence to good and a spirit to evil. And there is drawn out of it the character of Venus and her spirits. This being engraven on a plate of silver, Venus being fortunate, promotes concord, ends strife, procures the love of women, helps conception, is good against barrenness, gives ability for generation, dissolves enchantments, causes peace between man and woman, and makes all kinds of animals fruitful, and likewise cattle. And being put into a dove or pigeon house causes an increase. It likewise drives away melancholy distempers and causes joyfulness. And this being carried out about, let me just redo that. And this being carried about travelers makes them fortunate. But if it be formed upon brass, Venus. But if it be formed upon brass, Venus being unfortunate, it acts contrary to all that has been said. The sixth table is of Mercury, resulting from a square of 8 drawn into itself, containing 64 numbers, whereof 8 on every side and by both diameters make 260, and the sum of all is 2,080. And over it are set divine names, with an intelligence to good, with a spirit to bad, and from it is drawn a character of Mercury, and the spirits thereof. And if, with Mercury being fortunate, you engrave it upon silver, tin, or yellow brass, or write it upon virgin parchment, it renders the bearer thereof grateful, acceptable, and fortunate to do what he pleases. It brings gain and prevents poverty, helps the memory, understanding, and divination, and to the understanding of occult things by dreams. But with an unfortunate Mercury does everything contrary to this. Good morning, Polymathing. Good to see you. So here's the one now that we're looking at. This is the one we're reading, I believe. This is the sun, is it? The sun. This is Venus here, I guess. So there's the sun and Venus with the Hebrew characters, the Hebrew tables as well. I'll go back and do the middle one, which is Mercury. So this is the one we just read, I guess. Mercury. There's the table in Hebrew with the numbers. Huh. Interesting how Venus was a female so far back, you know. And here's the table of the moon. Yeah, looks like the symbol of the moon there. Interesting. All right. Okay, where was I? Better just double check. Contrary to this. Okay, the seventh table and the last. Because they do the 7 planets only, I guess, what they thought of, what they could see with their visual eyes. Before Uranus was discovered, I guess. All right. The 7th and last table is of the moon. It consists of a pure, The 7th and last table is of the moon. It consists of a square of 9, having 81 numbers in every side, and diameter 9, producing 369. And the sum of all is 3,321. There are over it divine names with an intelligence to what is good and a spirit to evil, and from it are drawn the characters of the moon and the spirits thereof. This, the moon being fortunate, engraven on silver, makes the bearer amiable, pleasant, cheerful, and honored, removing all malice and ill will. It causes security in a journey, increase of riches, and health of body, drives away enemies, and other evil things from what place soever thou shalt wish them to be expelled. But if the moon be unfortunate, and it be graven, I'm just going to redo that quickly. But if the moon be unfortunate, and it be engraven on a plate of lead, Wherever it shall be buried, it makes that place unfortunate, and the inhabitants thereabouts, as also ships, rivers, fountains, and mills. And it makes every man unfortunate against whom it shall be directly done, making him fly his place of abode, and even his country, where it shall be buried. And it hinders physicians and orators, and all men whatsoever in their office, against whom it shall be made. Now, how the seals and characters of the planets are drawn from these tables, the wise searcher, and he who shall understand the verifying of these tables shall easily find out. Here follow the divine names corresponding with the numbers of the planets, with the names of the intelligences and daemons or spirits subject to those names. It is to be understood that the intelligences are the presiding good angels that are set over the planets, but that the spirits or daemons with their names, seals, or characters are never inscribed upon any talisman, except to execute any evil effect, and they are subject to the intelligences or good spirits. And again, when the spirits and their characters are used, it will be more conducive to the effect to add some divine name appropriate to that effect which we desire. So on the right, there's the Hebrew characters which make the name on the left. So I'm just going to skip past. I'm not going to show that because I can scroll over here, the divine names in Hebrew, and just do the numbers and the divine names. 3, Ab, numbers, divine names. 3, Ab. 9, Hod. 15, Yah. 15, Hod. 45, Jehovah extended. 45, Agiel, the intelligence of Saturn. 45, Zazel, the spirit of Saturn. Names answering to the numbers of, I got to redo that. I don't think I read that. Names answering to the numbers of Saturn. 15, Hod. That's the worst. Okay, let's see here. Appropriate to that effect which we desire. Yeah, I'm just going to redo that quickly. I forgot the title of it. Names answering to the numbers of Saturn. Numbers, divine names. 3, Ab. 9, Hod. 15, Yah. 15, Hod. 45, Jehovah extended. 45, Agiel, the intelligence of Saturn. 45, Zazel, the spirit of Saturn. Names answering to the numbers of Jupiter. 4, Abba. 16 and 16 blank, which are some 16 and 16 16 and 16 left 16 and 16 left blank, for it is I gotta click on the page. I'm scrambling. 16 and 16 left blank because they are various divine letters, supposedly secret. 34, El Ab. 136, Jophiel, the intelligence of Jupiter. 136, Hismael, the spirit of Jupiter. Names answering to the numbers of Mars. 5, He, the letter of the holy name. 25, again blank with the secret divine letters. 65, Adonai. 325, Graphael, the intelligence of Mars. 325, Barzabel, the spirit of Mars. Names answering to the numbers of the sun. 6, Vau, the letter of the holy name. 6, He extended, the letter of the holy name. 36, Ilo. 111, Nakiel, the intelligence of the sun. 666, Sorat, the spirit of the sun. Names answering to the numbers of Venus. 7, Aha. 49, Hagiel, the intelligence of Venus. 175, Kedemel, the spirit of Venus. 1225, Bene Seraphim, the intelligence of Venus. Names answering to the numbers of Mercury. 8, as Boga, 8 extended. 64, Din. 64, Donai. 260, Tyriel, the intelligence of Mercury. 2080. I missed that one. Thanks, Polymathing. Tapthartharath. 2080, Tapthartharath, the spirit of Mercury. Names answering to the numbers of the moon. 9, Hod. 81, Elim. 369, Hasmodai, the spirit of the moon. Shed Barshemoth. Skartathon. 3321, Shed Barshemoth Skartalon, the spirit of the spirits of the moon. 3321, Malka Betharsism. That's wrong. Malka Betarsisim. 3321, Malka Betartis. Betarsisim. 3321, Malka Betarsisim. Head Barua Skeleim, the intelligence of the intelligences of the moon. Footnotes for the figures of the tables, seals, characters, etc. of the 7 planets. See the following plates. Just going to quickly show that plate again, just because I think what they're showing here is that you can that you draw. These are drawn from the tables. It's just kind of interesting. Oh, that's the same one I was just on. Huh. Okay, so next chapter, I got to do a little blank here so I can make a gap in the recording. So I'll just be quiet for a few seconds. Except for my chair squeaking. Check. Chapter 29. Of the observation of the celestials necessary in every magical work. Every natural virtue works things far more wonderful when it is not only compounded of a natural proportion, but also is informed by a choice observation of the celestials opportune to this, viz., when the celestial power is most strong to that effect which we desire, and also helped by many celestials, by subjecting inferiors to the celestials as proper females, to be made fruitful by their males. Also, in every work there are to be observed the situation, motion, and aspect of the stars and planets, in signs and degrees, and how all these stand in reference to the length and latitude of the climate. For by this are varied the qualities of the angles, which the rays of the celestial bodies upon the figure of the thing describe, according to which celestial virtues are infused. So when you are working anything which belongs to any planet, you must place in it. Just redo that. Scroll up while I have a chance here. Oh, that is up all the way. So when you are working anything which belongs to any planet, you must place it in its dignities fortunate and powerful, and ruling in the day hour and in the figure of the heavens. Excuse me. Neither must you expect the signification of the work to be powerful, but you must observe the moon opportunely directed to this. For you shall do nothing without the assistance of the moon. And if you have more patterns of your work, observe them all, being most powerful, and looking upon one another with a friendly aspect. And if you cannot have such aspects, it will be convenient at least that you take them angular. But you shall take the moon either when she looks upon both, or is joined to one and looks upon the other, or when she passes from the conjunction or aspect of one to the conjunction or aspect of the other. For that, I conceive, must in no wise be omitted. Also, you shall in every work observe Mercury, for he is a messenger between the higher gods and the infernal gods. When he goes to the good, he increases their goodness. When to the bad, he hath influence on their wickedness. We call it an unfortunate sign or planet when it is, by the aspect of Saturn or Mars especially, opposite or quadrant, for these are the aspects of enmity. But a conjunction, a trine, and a sextile aspect are of friendship. Between these there is a greater conjunction. But vet, if you do already behold it through a trine, and the planet be received, it is accounted as already conjoined. Now all planets are afraid of the conjunction of the sun, rejoining in the trine and sextile aspect thereof. Chapter 30. When the planets are the Let me just redo that quickly. When the planets are of most powerful influence. Now we shall have the planets powerful when they are ruling in a house, or in exaltation, or triplicity, or term, or face, without combustion of what is direct in the figure of the heavens, viz., when they are in angles, especially of the rising or tenth, or in houses presently succeeding, or in their delights. But we must take heed that they are not in the bounds or under the dominion of Saturn or Mars, lest they be in dark degrees, in pits or vacuities. You shall observe that the angles of the ascendant and tenth and seventh be fortunate, as also the lord of the ascendant and place of the sun and moon, and place of the part of fortune, and the lord thereof, the lord of the foregoing conjunction and prevention. But that they of the malignant planet fall unfortunate, unless happily they be significators of thy work, or can be of any advantage to thee, or in thy revolution or birth they had the predominance, for then they are not at all to be depressed. Now we shall have the moon powerful if she be in her house, or exaltation, or triplicity, or face, or in degree convenient for the desired work. And if it have a mansion of these 28, suitable to itself and the work, let her not in the way be burnt up, nor slow in course. Let her not be in the eclipse, or burnt by the sun, unless she be in the unity with the sun. Let her not descend into the southern latitude, when she goeth out of the burning. Neither let her be opposite to the sun, nor deprived of light. Let her not be hindered by Mars or Saturn. Footnotes via combusta. Chapter 31. Observations on the fixed stars and their names and natures. There is the like consideration to be had in all things concerning the fixed stars. Know this, that all the fixed stars are of the signification and nature of the 7 planets, but some are of the nature of one planet and some of two. Hence, as often as any planet is joined with any of the fixed stars of its own nature, the signification of that star is made more powerful, and the nature of the planet augmented. But if it be a star of two natures, the nature of that which shall be the stronger with it shall overcome in signification. As, for example, if it be of the nature of Mars and Venus, if Mars shall be the stronger to with it, the nature of Mars shall overcome. But if Venus, the nature of Venus shall overcome. Now, the natures of fixed stars are discovered by their colors, as they agree with certain planets and are ascribed to them. Now, the colors of the planets are these: of Saturn blue and leaden, and shining with this, Of Jupiter, citrine, near to a paleness and clear with this. Of Mars, red and fiery. Of the Sun, yellow, and when it rises, red, afterwards glittering. Of Venus, white and shining, white in the morning and reddish in the evening. Of Mercury, glittering. Of the Moon, fair. Know also that of the fixed stars, by how much the greater and brighter and apparent they are, so much the greater and stronger is the signification. Such are those stars called by the astrologers of the first and second magnitude. I will tell thee some of these which are more potent to this faculty, viz., the navel of Andromeda, in the 22nd degree of Aries, of the nature of Venus and Mercury. Some call it jovial and saturnine, the head of Algol in the 18th. The head of the head of Algol, the head of Algol in the 18th degree of Taurus, of the name of Saturn and Jupiter. The Pleiades are also in the 22nd degree, a lunary star by nature and complexion martial. Also, Aldebaran in the 3rd degree of Gemini is of the nature of Mars and complexion of Venus. But Hermes places this in the 25th degree of Aries, the goat star. In the that should be a break. The goat. Just gonna double check that level. It's dropping down a bit. The goat star in the 13th. The goat star in the 13th degree of Gemini is of the nature of Jupiter and Saturn. The great dog star is in the 7th degree of Cancer and venereal. The little dog star is in the 17th degree of the same and is of the nature of Mercury and complexion of Mars. The king star, which is called the heart of the lion, is in the 21st degree of Leo and of the nature of Jupiter and Mars. The tail of the great bear is in the 19th degree of Virgo and is venereal. The tail of the great bear is in the 19th degree of Virgo and is venereal and lunary. The star which is called the right wing of the crow is in the 7th degree of Libra, and in the 13th degree of the same is the left wing of the same, and both of the nature of Saturn and Mars. The star called Spica is in the 16th degree of the same, and is venereal and mercurial. In the 17th degree of the same is Alchymy, of the nature of Mars and Jupiter. But of this, when the sun's aspect is full towards it, of that, when on the contrary, Alephia, in the 4th degree of Scorpio, of the nature of Venus and Mars. The heart of the scorpion is in the 3rd degree of Sagittarius, of the nature of Mars and Jupiter. The falling vulture is in the 7th degree of Capricorn, temperate, mercurial, and venereal. The falling vulture is in the falling vulture. The falling vulture is in the 7th degree of Capricorn, temperate, mercurial, and venereal. The falling vulture is in the 7th degree of Capricorn, temperate, mercurial, and venereal. The tail of Capricorn is in the 16th degree of Aquarius, of the nature of Saturn and Mercury. The star called the shoulder of the horse is in the 3rd degree of Pisces, of the nature of Jupiter and Mars. And it shall be a general rule for you to expect the proper gifts of the stars whilst they rule, to be prevented of them, they being unfortunate, as is above shewed. For celestial bodies, inasmuch as they are affected fortunately or unfortunately, so much do they affect us, our works, and those things which we use, fortunately or unhappily. And although many effects proceed from the fixed stars, yet they are attributed to the planets as because being more near to us, and more distinct and known, so because they execute whatever the superior stars communicate to them. Chapter 32. Of the sun and moon and their magical considerations. The sun and moon have obtained the administration of ruling the heavens and all bodies under the heavens. The sun is the lord of all elementary virtues, and the moon, by virtue of the sun, is mistress of generation, increase or decrease. Albumsar says that by the sun and moon life is infused into all things, which Orpheus calls the enlivening eyes of heaven. The sun giveth light to all things of itself, and gives it plentifully, not only to all things in heaven and air, but earth and deep. Whatever good we have, Iamblichus says, we have it from the sun alone, or from it through other things. Heraclitus calls the sun the fountain of celestial light, and many of the Platonists place the soul of the world chiefly in the sun, as that which, filling the whole globe of the sun, doth send forth its rays on all sides, as it were a spirit through all things, distributing life, sense, and motion to the universe. Hence the ancient naturalists called the sun the very heart of heaven, and the Chaldeans put it as the middle of the planets. The Egyptians also placed it in the middle of the world, viz. Between the two fives of the world, i.e., above the sun they placed 5 planets, and under him the moon and 4 elements. Excuse me. 4 elements. Okay, where was I? There it is. Okay. I gotta find my spot there. Okay, here we go. For it is, amongst the other stars, the image and statue of the great prince of both worlds, viz. For it is, amongst the other stars, the image and statue of the great prince of both worlds, viz. Terrestrial and celestial, the true light and the most exact image of God himself, whose essence resembles the Father, light, the Son, heat, the Holy Ghost, so that the Platonists have nothing to hold forth the divine essence more manifestly than by this. So that the Platonists have nothing to hold forth the divine essence more manifestly by than this. The sun disposes even the very spirit and mind of man, which Homer says, and is approved by Aristotle, that there are in the mind such like motions as the sun, the prince and moderator of the planets, brings to us every day. But the moon, the nearest to the earth, the receptacle of all the heavenly influences, by the swiftness of her course, is joined to the sun and the other planets and stars every month, and receiving the beams and influences of all the other planets and stars as a conception, bringing them forth to the inferior world, as being next to itself. For all the stars have influence on it, being the last receiver which afterwards communicates the influence of all the superiors to these inferiors, and pours them forth on the earth. And it is more manifestly disposes these inferiors than others. Therefore, her motion is to be observed before the others, as the parent of all conceptions, which it diversely issues forth in these inferiors, according to the diverse complexion, motion, situation, and different aspects to the planets and other stars. And though it receives powers from all the stars, yet especially from the sun, as often as is in conjunction with the same, it is replenished with vivifying virtue, and according to the aspect thereof, it borrows its complexion. From it, the heavenly bodies begin that series of things which Plato calls the golden chain, by which everything and cause, being linked one to another, do depend on the superior, even until it may be brought into the supreme cause of all, from which all things depend. Hence it is that, without the moon intermediating, we cannot at any time attract the power of the superiors. Therefore, to obtain the virtue of any star, Take the stone and herb of that planet when the moon fortunately comes under or has a good aspect on that star. All right, there we have it. Tomorrow, that's all I'm going to do. Tomorrow, chapter 33. This is going to be to take some work on pronunciations here. They've got some Allothame and Albacan, just some words I have never read before. So I'll just double check those. And yeah, so tomorrow's is called the 28 Mansions of the Moon and Their Virtues. And then we get into artificial things as seals may obtain some virtue of the celestial bodies. So we'll keep going tomorrow, I suppose. So thank you. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. Help support our work. I'll stop sharing now. Yeah, this channel or everything's on Audible and Spotify too. Thanks, Polymathing. Good to see you. And thank you. Have a good day. Talk to you tomorrow.